Greetings and welcome to another Alethea Game Studio Godot tutorial. My name is Clint Fleetwood, and this tutorial is part 3 of a 3-part series on how to make a wave shader, or a wavy like water type shader. So today we're gonna this tutorial we're actually gonna be talking about the vertex shading. If you haven't done the other 2 parts yet, you might be very confused. So I highly encourage you to go ahead and watch the first 2 videos on that. But let's jump right in. While I'm getting this all set up, I'm going to the materials overview override, and opening up the shader. One of the things I need to mention is that this may not be the absolute best way of doing it. There may be better ways. This is just what I found and the way I like to do it. Also, I haven't tested this on low-powered GPUs, like for tablets and stuff. I don't know what impact that would have, but so your mileage may vary very drastically. Also, this part, the vertex part, is likely to change in 3.0. There may be a more efficient way of doing it than having to create a mesh with all of those vertices individually. And quite frankly, there might be a way of doing it already that I'm just not entirely aware of. But this does work, and it is not very difficult, and making a flat plane with a bunch of vertices isn't that hard on the GPU. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and let's first start off with our texture. So we're going to create a texture uniform and name this motion texture. Now you want this to be grayscale, and the reason being is because it really calculates the difference between light and dark colors to how high or how low, and I think you'll get more consistency from a grayscale. But this blue texture with these white spots would actually do just fine as well. But it's not hard to convert it to grayscale, so that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I'd recommend anyway. So what we need to do is bring the UV from that over here to this. Okay, so we're going to take the UV to that and connect it like we would with the other texture. And we also need a X-form to vector multiplier. So that's the right one. Yeah, that's the right one. And we're going to actually pull the model view matrix all the way over here. Alright, and this is going to be our out. It's going to disappear when I do this. We're going to go out to the vertex, but that's okay. Actually, it does not make it disappear yet. Okay, so then we need to bring in a over here. We need to connect the UV to the vertex to make it where it can actually calculate correctly. So what we need is a vertex to scalar right here. Vertex to scalar. And what this does is it makes it where we can use the X, Y, and Z of the vertex point. That's all. That's what we need to do with that. Then we need to set another scalar uniform for the height level, because this will make it how high or low it goes based on the black or white. Okay, and we need to find a way of combining the UV from this to the vertex for this, so it'll know that vertex will be based on the darkness or lightness of this UV. So we're going to do a vertex to scalar again. A vector to scalar, sorry. I've been saying vertex to scalar. Just ignore me when I say things wrong like that. And we're going to do a scalar operator. And we are going to multiply these together. We're going to multiply the y-axis, because the y-axis is the one that is going to go up or down. And then we're going to multiply it by the height level, which if it's 0, it'll never be very high. And then we need to do a scalar to vertex to get it back into, scalar to vector and get it back into that. We're going to bring the X over, the Z over, and then we're just going to pull the Y from right here, which is the height, and plug it in right there, and boom, there it goes. Now it's at 0 now, but we can put it at 1, and you see it lifts it up, and we put it at 2, it lifts it up even more, because everything is the same color because there is no color. So what would you need to do here is load this picture, and as you can see, it actually makes the vertex up and up. I've determined that about 0.4 is good for this particular one, but you know, or 0.6 or 7 is good, and you can see it's bumpy and stuff. But one thing that's not happening when it's hitting this, you can see it's just staying the same level. There's not actually waves are not moving, and we want to make the waves move. And this is basically where the height map part just ends. So we're going to make the waves move now, and we're going to use a similar technique that we did for the texture part. And so we'll have some moving waves that will move up and down. So what we need to do first of all there, and one thing we forgot is if you wanted to have where there's like, if you only have like 3 or 4 big waves and you want it to be seamless and have a lot more waves, we need to add the ability to make the texture go more times on the object. So let's do that first. So we're just going to add a new scalar uniform, and we're going to call this one motion texture repeat. Alright, let's make sure that all these were, yep, good. Motion texture repeat, and we're simply going to do a vector to scalar operator. That way we can combine these two, and we're just going to click this and go from the UV there, and then you can go right into this. Alright, and it repeats 0 times, so there's no change. But if we do it once, it makes the change, and if we do it twice, it makes even more, and then if you do it 3 times, it makes it more. If you do it 100 times, it, like, well, it's probably so small that you really can't see it very much, but it does do that. It does work. So let's just leave it around 1 or 2 for now, and you can adjust that. That's really just helpful for adjusting. Alright, so one of the things is still not moving, so we need it to move. And we need 2 different things that we had last time, which is the speed at which you want it to go up and down, and we need the time as well. So we're going to do time, put the time right here, and then we're going to do the scalar uniform, and we're going to call this wave speed. Alright, and we are going to multiply these 2 together. So we need a scalar operator. Just going to multiply them together, and so we can multiply this by this, and so that gives us the wave speed. Let's go ahead and put this to something like 0.1. That's going to be kind of fast, but you'll be able to see it at least. Now what we need to do is get this to mix with this number, so we can on the x-axis, so we can actually see the movement happening, and we can make, change it based on what this is based on. So what we need to do now is we need another scalar operator right here, and we are going to add this from this UV, from the UV here. We're going to add it to this to make it, or at least add the X from that to this. So we need to be able to grab the X. So we're going to need a it's vector to a scalar. And with the scalar operator, we're just going to add the X right here. And finally, we need to put this back into a vector, not a vertex. And we're going to take this back to a scalar to vector. And so we want the X to go from here, because this is the new X, because it's going across that direction, and then the Y and the Z. And that should make it where it just pops right in. And you see you have a bunch of ripply, movely objects. If we do 1, it'll look a little less, a little bit less. That seems kind of weird. And so we're just going to go down to 2. The speed looks really kind of crazy, so we're going to change the speed right there. And the other thing we're going to do is change the height down to like 0.4. And so as you can see right here, the waves are actually moving against that. It actually has a clearer view. We can save it and come out here to the plane, and we can change the parameters here from now on. Let's go ahead and load this up right here. So we have that parameter right there. We can do the wave speed at 1. It's going to be really fast. We can do it at 0.001. So it's nice and slow. The waves are just moving a little bit. I want the motion texture speed. I think that should be motion texture speed. Oh, texture movement speed, sorry. 0.001. So it's going nice and slow. Maybe speed the waves up a little bit. And then the height level, we can do that 0.8. Motion texture repeat, we do that to 2. Let's get to 1. 0.5. As you can see, you just kind of monkey around with whatever it is that you want it to look like, whatever kind of look you're going for. And you can play it, and it will play. And as you can see, it looks pretty good, in my humble opinion. I think it works really well. If you can add in a texture to, or a shader part that would do reflections, and some other things like that. But it's a great start to get started, to have a pretty decent looking and a pretty simple and a pretty efficient way of making wave shaders. So I hope you've enjoyed this whole tutorial. If you have some tips or suggestions for me on how I can make the tutorials better, or if you see something that's not done just right on this, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And also check out my other pages. I have a Patreon account. If you support that, you'd be able to help me make more videos. And also I have a couple games coming out, so you can check me out on itch.io. Thank you for your time, and I'd love to hear from you.